losing your hormones to menopause does make one feel drier in general.
Yeah.
So do you think at that point using unsaturated fat in food is good as a supplement?
Unsaturated fat, then the question is what fat, and will that fat go to your skin directly? Like, I just feel like if we look at our sources of fat, like if I have to, I'm not against fat. I think fat can be good. We need fat in our food, but then fat can be in the form of nuts and seeds, and those are great fats. Like, you have few walnuts, few almonds, few pumpkin seeds, all of the goodness in them, because along with fat they're bringing fiber, they're bringing all the minerals, your B's. Then your supplement list automatically shrinking because you're eating all of that. So I don't think like one needs to consume like oil per se. But
correct. But fat as in avocado,
exactly,
walnuts, pumpkin seeds.
Exactly. And then of course there's like yogurt, and there's milk for milk drinkers. There are lots of different good sources of fat, and I feel they're sometimes so underutilized. But skin, yes, menopause, what it can do to the skin, you can be eating all of that and your skin can still be super dry.
That's where your hormone supplementation comes in that you spoke about on our previous episode, which
Right.
is the
But more than that, one can use, when we're using moisturizers, like very often I feel things like, hyaluronic acid moisturizers. Hyaluronic acid is a very potent compound that tends to trap moisture, and it helps retain that moisture. So, look for ingredients in your moisturizer, because it's not only, I remember putting like absolute oil, like taking coconut oil and rubbing on my leg because it was so dry, and it would just escape. It was like as if I never applied it. And I think, it took me a while to understand it's not just applying that oil, it is how we sealing it. It's not sealing, right? So that's why I think
that's so interesting.
That's why I think when I interviewed dermatologists, then I was educated about it. Hey, you can use something with hyaluronic acid, use something with ceramides, because it's not only about moisturizing, it's about retaining it and sealing the skin. And it made such a huge difference.
So in the West, hyaluronic acid is very expensive. Here in India, it's really inexpensive, by the way. And you get tubes of it. You just get tubes of the gel. Yeah. I'll give you one today. So I actually use that gel when I'm on a flight, just on my top of my hands, on my neck, on my feet, and then I fall asleep. Long haul flights. So just want you to know it's extremely pocket friendly in our country.
Wonderful. Then that's something
it's good for audience to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it comes in the form of a harmless, lovely gel. I don't know. Of course, you have to test if you're allergic to it and speak to your doctor. But it's something that's affordable as opposed to omega-3, which again is not only expensive, but then I also don't know the authenticity of the ingredients there.
Right. But then also, talking about omega-3, I think the important thing is, again, addressing, as you said, vegetarians. And what do they do if they do not use a fish source? And, that's where it gets a bit tricky, because you have very few vegan or vegetarian sources.
And how much flax and sesame can you eat?
Exactly.
How much?
Exactly.
And the collateral damage with the other calories you might not need from it.
Exactly. And even if you go for supplements, then the supplements don't have very high EPA. So it's slightly difficult to choose. A lot of them have what we call ALA, which is a precursor to these other omega-3s, and that conversion then means you have to depend on your own enzymes and body systems to do it, which may not happen.
And that's especially with vegetarians if they're not getting the full 9 essential amino acids. And I read a very enlightening article recently which said that you can have your 9 essential amino acids in rotation. So they don't all have to be in one meal in one source. So suppose I have a legume that has 7 amino acids. A grain has the other 2. You pair it, but then you can't have that much of grain because if you're on a calorie deficit, you can't have that much of carb. So the thing, it was just hopeful for vegetarians, for me to create recipes for vegetarians to understand that the amino acids or amino acids, as they call them in the West, can be had in rotation.
Hmm.
So then that just makes
That's
me feel
interesting.
like, they can have less rice and less grain and less refined carb, especially if they're sedentary.
Yeah.
Or if the professions are sedentary. I mean, unless you're an athlete or a farmer,
Yeah.
you don't need that much
Right.
extra carb.
Yeah, absolutely
There's
right.
already carb in your fruits and vegetables. So that's the thing about the amino acids and nutrition.
Yeah.
So this thought actually was triggered by the fact that protein, calcium, and all your micro and macronutrients are so important to keep your muscle mass.